my name is Justin Yamot. Welcome back to the CNT podcast. This week I have the Seattle Mariners number 28 prospect Logan Rinehart.
How you doing, Justin? Thanks for having me on, man.
I'm good. Thanks for coming on. So I have some questions here. Let's hop right on into it. So
Let's do it.
first off, I have you were drafted in the 16th round of the draft. What were you thinking when they called your name?
To be honest with you, man, it was such a surreal moment for not only me but my family. You kind of just you don't realize all the time and money and effort that your family puts into you growing up, taking you to tournaments, buying you new gloves, stuff like that. So it was really just it was a surreal moment for me just because it was a lifelong dream finally happening. And it finally came true. And it was kind of just like a weight almost lifted off my shoulders. Um, but also for my family, it's a goal that we've worked together since I was a little kid. And then now I have a fiance, and she's been with me for the last 3 or 4 years, and it's been something that we've strived together with. And it was just such a surreal moment for all of us together. We went away to Palm Springs, California. We were sitting at our condo out there, kind of just to get away from everything, all the noise, kind of quiet it down a little bit, just because it was such a hectic weekend. And it was just a great time to spend family time together, but also to kind of realize, like, what we were kind of working for together as a family kind of happened and came true. And it was a great moment. I'll remember it forever for the rest of my life. And it was really cool to spend that time with the people that I love.
I agree. I mean, I always like to ask something around the draft because I feel like every draft story is unique and really awesome to hear about.
Oh yeah, for sure. Mine was definitely unique, I would say. There's just so many, like, you never really know. There's so many people telling you so many different things, that it's kind of like until it actually happened and your name is actually called, you never really know. And honestly, once your name's finally called, it all goes out the window because the childhood dream you've been working for, um, has finally come true, and everything that you've kind of played this game for up to this point, God kind of put you in a position where you're supposed to be. And it was, I couldn't be more thankful that I got drafted to the organization that I did with the Mariners. And I couldn't be more thankful that God just directed my steps where he did. So it was definitely a crazy weekend to say the least.
That's very cool. So, you were born in California. So, who was your favorite team or player when you were growing up?
Growing up, I was a Dodger fan, diehard Dodger fan, love the Dodgers. So it's cool to see them win a World Series this year. My family, we kind of been rooted in LA sports. So Dodger fan. I was a St. Louis Rams fan actually, but now they came over to LA, so that was cool. Um, but yeah, Dodger fan through and through. And favorite player is kind of unique. I was a position player my whole life. So I heard the story of Josh Hamilton. I'm sure you're familiar with it, of kind of just battling through drugs and alcohol and crazy stuff, and then kind of finding the Lord and coming back to where he was supposed to be. And I thought that story was awesome. So I was always a Josh Hamilton fan growing up. I actually wore his number all throughout high school, throughout college too. So Dodger fan and Josh Hamilton fan.
Yeah, that's very cool. As a Cubs fan, I'm not very big. As a Cubs and Mariners fan, I should say, I'm not very huge on the Dodgers, but that's very
Totally
cool. I do
understand.
really like Josh Hamilton though.
Great dude, great dude. You know, I wish I could have like actually got to meet him maybe, since Mariners play in the AL West back when he was on the Angels. That would have been something that I would have thought was really cool, but things happen. Got to retire at some point, but yeah, he was always just kind of a good figure to I thought that I could watch and learn a lot from, just the way he went about his game and the day-to-day routines. Like, it seemed to me, I mean, I'm watching from afar, obviously I didn't know him personally and wasn't around him every day, but it seems to me like he was just a hardworking dude that loved God and was kind of a good team guy. And it's a shame of some things that kind of may have gone down, but he was a cool guy. I really, really enjoyed watching him.
Yeah, I he was really fun to watch. So now to go back to what you says, if you how you were saying you were playing positions. My next question is, did you ever play a different position?
Yeah, I did. I was actually a shortstop until my senior year of high school. I started pitching my senior year. And pretty much since I mean, when I was younger in little league, I played short. I pitched here and there, but not really. More just played short. I caught a little bit. My 12 and 13-year-old year, I think I caught a little bit. But yeah, mostly just a shortstop pretty much my whole life. And then I converted to a pitcher my senior year. Still played the infield as well on days I didn't pitch. And then in college, I couldn't hit. They told me I sucked at hitting, so I needed to move to a position. So I started pitching.
Yeah. So my last one is, why did you choose to be a pitcher?
To be honest, I loved being in control, I guess you could say. So when you have the ball and you have the rock and you're on the bump, it's kind of you control the whole game. You control the tempo, you control the attitude of everyone around you. Everyone's looking at you for kind of the next move of what's going to happen in the game. So I just loved that aspect, and I love competing. And like, there's nothing more in baseball besides pitching, like that you're one on one with a hitter, like mano y mano every single time. You know, so, I mean, the aspect of playing shortstop, and yeah, you get that aspect of going up and hitting and facing the pitcher one on one. That was cool. But pitching, you get to do it every single time you throw the ball. I mean, you're the one controlling the game. So I loved that, and I just loved how pitchers kind of went about their business. It's such a detailed task and such a detailed position that, not that the other positions aren't, they totally are, that I just like kind of the minor details of what makes certain pitchers so great. And ultimately that, and then on the other side too, I just wasn't a good enough hitter. So they were like, you know what, you have a decent arm, we'll throw you on the mound.
Mm-hmm. So kind of go with that. What pitches do you throw when you're facing down the battles?
Yeah, I throw a fastball, a curveball, a slider, and a changeup. I most recently just started really working on the curveball. I've always had a curveball since I was in high school, but it was very iffy, wasn't great. So this off season, I went to North Carolina. The Mariners had a little camp out there, and we did some stuff out there, and I really honed in on just trying to make the breaking ball better. The changeup's always been decent. Fastball's been decent. The slider and the curveball are something that I really needed to get better. So I worked on those breaking balls nonstop. They got a little better for sure, but I still have a lot of work ahead. But yeah, those are the four that's my mix.
Nice, nice. Those are really good pitches to have. Uh, so,
Definitely.
hmm so my next question is, how have you kept your game ready to go with COVID?
It's been tough. Fortunate enough for me, the facility that I train at, we never actually really shut down. I kind of train more one on one with a guy per se in a group setting. Me and my brother, my brother's in college as well, and or in college, and we train together. So we kind of bounce ideas off each other one on one every day. And luckily enough, when he's usually back from college, kind of lucky for me, I guess, not for him because of COVID. He's back from college right now, so we get to throw with each other every single day. So I kind of get a workout with him. We just meet at local parks, local high schools, football fields, anything we can really jump on, to be honest. And then the guy I train with, we kind of do a small training facility in San Bernardino, California, and kind of do it in the backyard pretty much, and we get our training in that way. He has everything that we need, great facility. So with that, and then like physical therapy and stuff wise, the facility that I go down to in Orange, California, it's been open pretty much this whole time. Obviously, a lot of regulations, need to wear masks and stuff like that. So I've been going there and just trying to get stronger every day. There's a lot of stuff that you can do that you kind of don't think of when you're not trapped in your house all the time, just like mental stuff, finding little things on YouTube or finding little things that watching videos of big leaguers of how they do their day to day routine and stuff like that. So finding those little things of the little like, hey, what can give me that 1% edge to get better today? Whether that be learning new pitches or learning new grips or messing with my mechanics in my living room, something like that, has been cool. It's been a definitely a different kind of learning, but it's been really cool.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, what I've been seeing is a lot. most athletes are just trying to improve with it. However, and I feel like this is kind of a blessing in disguise for some minor league players, as
Yeah.
they're getting maybe the ones not like ranked super high in the top 100, or they're able to work harder. Well,
Yeah.
maybe some of the prospects who are higher ranked, who they probably think they're gonna make it, they're not working as hard, and this gives a lot more prospects a chance to work harder and have a better chance of making it to the league.
Yeah, no, for sure. I totally agree with you. I think it's just been a really cool time to kind of check in with yourself and spend some time with family. And, also like you said, like I think it's a really good time for you to kind of look yourself in the mirror and hone in on your craft of kind of what makes you really good. And it does. It kind of gives those prospects like me, who's not a very high prospect, never was a really high prospect going into the draft, a chance to kind of show people like, hey, this is what I can do, and it gives us some time to kind of hone our crafts. And like I said, the Mariners have been amazing. They contact me all the time with stuff, helping me trying to get better every day. So shout out to them for just being really cool with that, and helping me get better. But I mean, every opportunity, I feel like this time right now with COVID is a great opportunity to get better. And yes, like it was tough at the beginning, but I feel like most players now have probably found a routine of kind of how to live life in COVID. It is what it is, and I think it is a really good time, like you said, to really hone in on your craft and get better. Work on the little things.
Yeah, I fully agree. So my next question kind of goes along to that is, how do you plan to improve this year, assuming that there is a minor league season?
Yeah, no, for me, I think I took some big strides last season per se. We didn't have a season, but going to North Carolina and then playing in the Instructs League, I think I took some big strides with my pitch shapes, just how my curveball moves, how my slider moves, and now this season I want to kind of put it all together. I think last season like I said, I did a good job at making my pitch shapes better, but maybe my focus and my intent on also just competing wasn't as good as it usually is. That I think that's kind of what makes me me. I've never been a guy who really blew the doors off people velocity wise in college and stuff. And now that I've added some more tools in my bag, I think that I kind of can find a way now if I can put it all together. That's my main goal for this season is kind of work on my pitch shapes, work on what I'm trying to do to get hitters out, and then really also at the same time compete and kind of just put it all together. There's a couple like minor mechanical things here and there, but for me, the really big thing is keeping my stuff good, pitch shapes good, and competing my butt off.
Yeah, I fully agree. Like, that sounds like a really good plan.
Thank you.
And next question we have is, what is your biggest motivation?
My biggest motivation is my family, for sure. My my fiance, she pushes me every day to just get better, wake up and kind of realize like, hey, this game is not something to take for granted. It might not last forever. So she's been really a rock by my side this whole time. And then my family, my dad, my mom, my brother, and my little sister, they just push me to try to be better every day. I always think of them when I'm working out and just strive to kind of try to give them the life, my fiance as well, of course, trying to give them the life that they kind of I think deserve and that they've given me growing up. They've always been with me through every obstacle and they've always been there for me by my side. So every day I think the motivation that really pushes me to try to get the best to be the best player I can be every day is my family. So really, yeah, just being motivated with that, having them in mind and everything I do kind of keeps me on a detailed plan to hopefully try to be the best one day.
That sounds like a really great motivation and a really good way to keep yourself going.
Thank you.
And welcome. So, as a kid, did you ever collect baseball cards?
I did for sure. Me and my brother, we probably had wow, I don't know, maybe like 20 to 30 of those like big thick binders, full of baseball cards, random cards, players I didn't even I think I know a lot of players, but players I didn't even know. So yeah, we loved collecting baseball cards. We would go every time we'd go to the store, ask my parents, "Hey, can we get another pack?" So I would say from the ages of like probably 7 to 15, we were really big into it. We loved just getting new cards, and we didn't even care who we got. We have some that are pretty cool, some that are pretty good cards, and other than that, most of them are just like normal cards. But it was just something we could fill up into our binders and see the different stats and see stuff like that. So yeah, we definitely collected our fair share.
That's super cool. I'm a huge card collector and really memorabilia collector as well. It's kind of
Yeah,
what
for
got
sure.
me like I got into that. I've always been in baseball, but that kind of got me to really start cards and talk. As you know,
Yeah,
cards because I talk about baseball cards a good amount, and so I have a pretty big collection myself. And
that's
something that
so awesome.
I personally like to do sometimes is send cards to players through the mail. And my next question is, would you sign those if fans would send cards to you? Would you sign them?
Oh yeah, of course, of course. I love doing that for the fans. I think, like I said, I've never been a super high prospect, so when I do have some fans, it's really cool to me. I think it's special. So yeah, of course, I'll sign anything you guys send my way.
That's very cool. Because I know there's a lot of card collectors who do that. I do it a little bit as well.
Nice.
So, um, what made you fall in love with the game of baseball?
Wow, that's a good question. Um, To be honest with you, I would say my family. We've always been a sports family. We've always, no matter what sports game is on, we're watching it. Doesn't matter if it's baseball, football, golf, anything. Um, we've always been just a huge sports family. My dad's the one that introduced me to the game when I was young. I started playing at a pretty young age. I started like tossing the ball around literally as soon as I could walk, and then got into actual organized sports when I was end of two, beginning of three. And my great grandparents, they used to watch me all the time and pretty much every single day. And they would hang a little like yarn ball that my great grandma made from the ceiling, and they had like a little maybe 12-inch orange plastic bat that they used to give me every day, and I used to just whack away for like hours at a time, just hitting the ball hanging from the ceiling. So I think going over to their house every day, growing up in the environment of just a sports family, and then just my dad kind of having that all together really led me to sports in general, but then eventually led me to the game of baseball. So yeah, I would say my family for sure.
That's very cool. Like to kind of go along with that, baseball has like a lot of awesome aspects. What aspect of the game is your favorite?
Um, there's a lot, to be honest. I love the game of baseball is something that's very, very special to me. There's something about the game that's just different than any other game, in my opinion, that just creates a sense of I don't it's hard to explain, but to narrow it down to one, I would probably just say competing. I love competing. And it's weird because I only really love competing in the game of baseball. Like, I'll go outside and I'll play a pickup game of basketball with my friends or something, and, like, yeah, I compete, but I'm always conscious of, like, "All right, compete to a certain level, but don't get hurt," because like, I wanna be able to compete in baseball. So I love the competing aspect. But also, I just love the strategic part. Like, I love that the fact that, like, yeah, when a runner gets on second base and there's nobody, we can butt him over and play small ball or drive the ball to the opposite side to try to move him to third. Or when you're on the bump and it's a 1-2 count, throwing a fastball up, and if you miss there, then going with a curveball down. Like just little things like that. I think are really cool, and I think there's a lot of little attributes to the game that just makes it so special.
I agree. The strategy part is probably my favorite part as well.
Yeah. So it's just something that it's a it's almost like football when they're drawing up plays. That I'm sure that's a thrill and that's great when your play works. But baseball, there's just like there's something to it. Like when you do something right that you've been working on for a long time, it's such a difficult game that when you finally do it right, it just gives you a feeling that you can never like get from anything else.
I fully agree with that. So as a kid, did you play any other sports?
Yeah, I played one season of soccer when I was like 3 or 5 or something like that, and then I didn't do that anymore. I wasn't very good of just using my feet. I always wanted to pick up the ball with my hands. So then I stopped that, and then I moved to basketball, and I played 2 or 3 seasons of basketball growing up and loved basketball. Basketball was really cool. Um, that was really about it besides golf. I started playing golf when I was probably 9 or 10, and still love the game of golf today. Play it all the time. The only sport I wish I would have played that I never really got into was football. I was just never like really into it when I was a kid, and now I love football. So I thought it would be really cool um, to play football when I was younger. But yeah, I played soccer, basketball, and golf.
That's really cool. That's really cool. I didn't play much basketball, but I played a lot of baseball when I was younger.
Which is great. I love that.
Mhm.
I actually played too, not to cut you off, I forgot. My freshman year of high school, we got a new high school baseball coach who was actually ended up being my baseball coach for the 4 years that I was there. We got a new coach, and he didn't start tryouts like normally in the fall like you would. Since he was new, he started tryouts in the spring because he wasn't at school in time to start him in the fall. So I didn't want to do PE, me and one of my buddies. So we actually tried out for the water polo team, and we made the water polo team. So I played water polo for a year as well.
That's very fun.
It was a good time.
So my last question is, what are some of your hobbies that you do when you're not playing baseball or getting better?
Yeah, I love kind of going back. I love hanging out with my family. So we take a lot of vacations. My fiance and I travel a lot. And we have my grandpa has a house up in Big Bear, another one in Palm Springs, like I mentioned earlier. So we do a lot of vacation spots there. And then kind of just playing golf. My fiance is learning how to play golf right now. So I'm teaching her the game. So me, my dad, my brother, my mom, and then my fiance, we all go out and play golf. We have a great time. That's always a fun. And then mostly I just like hanging out. I'm not like too big into doing a bunch of little hobbies here and there. Me and my brother, we used to drive RC cars, those little electric cars. So we used to be kind of big into that growing up. But other than that, really just golf, hanging out with family, watching sports, kind of just boring stuff like that.
hmm Well, thank you again for agreeing to come on. It really does mean a lot to me.
Oh, of course. Thank you for having me. This was a great time. I'm really happy that I could be on, and hopefully I shared some good stuff.
I had a great time personally.
Oh, I had a great time too. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you for coming on, and thank you all for watching. I'll see you next week.